A great view, it's 11:15, and that means it's time for our spotlight on sea otters. Is everyone ready to learn about sea otters today? Reluctantly, okay. Well, that's good enough. I'll start anyway. Sorry about that. I'm joined by Phil, our trainer here. We're going to be doing a session with two of our sea otters, Tanny and Elfin, here in the upper otter habitat. Elfin is the large, beautiful blonde sea otter that's currently working over with myself. And Tanny is the slightly smaller and less blonde sea otter, just as beautiful though, working over there with Phil. So while we're doing a training session, I'm going to tell you a little bit more about their stories and how they came to be here in Vancouver. Right?
Yeah, that's true.
Now, sea otters are unique marine mammals, and they do require very specialized and dedicated care. Out in the ocean, an otter mother will devote the first 6 months to the every need of her young pup. Of course, sometimes the mother isn't always able to care for her pup, though. And that was the case for 3 of our sea otters, Tanu, Katmai, and Elfin. So all 3 of them were found abandoned off the coast of Alaska. So they were alone when they were just about a few days old. As I said, Elfin is one of our male sea otters, working over here with myself. He was rescued back in 2001. Tanu over there with Phil was rescued in 2004. And Katmai, the small brown sea otter in the lower otter habitat, she was rescued in just 2012. Now, we aren't sure exactly what happened to their mothers, but luckily our animal care and rescue staff were able to step in where their mothers could and help them learn new types of sea otters that you see before you here today. Now, of course, sometimes an otter does get to grow up in the ocean learning from its mother, and there might be other reasons why they come to our rescue facility. Now, this was the case for our other male sea otter, Walter, or Wally, as you may know him. He's that large blonde sea otter in the lower otter habitat with Katmai. Wally does have a very different story. He was rescued as a fully grown adult on October 19, 2013 from a beach near Tofino here in British Columbia. When Wally was rescued, he was very weak, and upon taking some x-rays, we found that he did have gunshot pellets throughout his body. So he had unfortunately been shot with some form of shotgun. He did sustain some injuries because of this as well. Wally is actually fully blind, and we also had to partially amputate one of his rear flippers. So due to these injuries, among other reasons, he was deemed non-releasable by the Department of Fisheries and Oceans Canada. Thankfully, he's found a permanent home and is doing very well with us here in Vancouver. Now, the otters do very different types of food compared to other marine mammals. They are mammals, of course, when they're young, they nurse just like you and I. In fact, when we were first caring for Tanny, Katmai, and Elfin, they even nursed as a baby's bottle.
That's good.
They serve a variety of different types of seafood, but unlike other marine mammals, fish is never a huge part of their diet. Instead, their diet mostly consists of shellfish and other invertebrates. Over at the Vancouver Aquarium, we feed the sea otters a mix of clams, prawns, and squid. Now, not only is it what they're eating that's different compared to other marine mammals, but also how much of it they're eating, especially given their size. Sea otters will eat up to 1/4 or 25% of their body weight in food each day. So imagine that you weigh 100 pounds. If you want to eat like Tanny and Elfin, you would have to eat about 100 quarter-pound hamburgers every single day. Of course, if you eat more than that, you'd have to eat considerably more food. And that's pretty disgusting. Definitely not something I'm able to accomplish. I think Phil's getting close, though. Right, Phil? Just kidding. Now, their diet's one of the main reasons why it's so important to rescue and protect sea otters as well. Out in the ocean, one of their favorite prey items is an animal that's round and covered in spines. Any guesses what I might be talking about? Sea urchins, exactly. Now, in the early 1900s, sea otters were hunted to extinction off the coast of British Columbia for their thick and soft fur. So as they disappeared, people noticed an explosion in that sea urchin population, and that proved to be very detrimental for our local ecosystem. The reason for that is that sea urchins eat kelp, a plant that provides nursery and shelter for many of BC's fish species. So without the otters around to control that urchin population, there was a decrease in the amount of kelp in the area, and subsequently a vast decline in our fish populations as well. Now, thankfully, since then, a number of sea otters were able to be translocated back into British Columbia waters, and our ecosystem appears to be back in balance once again today. Now, not only is it what they're eating that's unique to them, but also how they're eating it. If you watch the otters closely, you might notice that they chew their food. I may not think much of that since we do the same, but that's quite unique in the marine mammal world. Sea otters are one of few marine mammals that chew their food, and they're the only ones we have here in the Vancouver Aquarium to do so. They also use a variety of tools to crack into and collect their food. So they use their bellies as plates, as you can clearly see them doing right now. And they'll use rocks, kind of how we might use something like a hammer. So they'll use a rock to crack into the hard shells prey items like clams, mussels, and scallops. They've even been seen using a rock to hammer 45 times in just 15 seconds at an abalone to dislodge it from a rock face. Now when they're done with their meal, they even have a fold of fur in their armpit, which acts kind of like a pocket. And in that they can store their favorite rocks for future use, as well as leftover food for future eating. So if you watch closely in the moment here, you can get an elephant a nice big handful. And he's going to tuck it all into his pocket, and he can eat it as he pleases over the next few minutes. So check it out. You can't even see most of it. Of course, eating is a very important part of the sea otter's life, but it does get messy. And their fur is their greatest defense against the cold waters in which they live, so they have to keep their fur clean. Some scientists suggest that a sea otter's life can be divided into 3 parts. They will spend about 1/3 of their lives eating, 1/3 will be grooming, and 1/3 doing everything else. Natural oils from their food gets in their fur while they eat, so they have to be able to get those out. You'll see the otters doing this, especially now that we're done with our training session here this morning. Luckily for them, they are very flexible, and because their fur is only attached to their bodies in a few places, they can move it around kind of like a giant sweater. And that enables them to clean every last inch of that fur. Now again, the reason that is so important is, as you may notice, unlike other marine mammals, they don't have a thick layer of blubber to help keep them insulated in the cold water. In fact, they have almost 0% body fat. Instead, though, they do have the densest fur in the animal kingdom. It's estimated that the sea otter has approximately 100,000 hairs per square centimeter, or 1 million hairs per square inch. So to put that in perspective, if you were to take your thumb, place it anywhere in the body of Tanny or Elephant, there'd be more individual hairs in this small area underneath your thumb than on the average human's head. So that's just how dense that fur is. Now it keeps them so well protected that although a sea otter will spend almost their entire life in the water, a healthy sea otter skin will never get wet. So believe it or not, they are completely dry underneath all of that fur, and that is crucial for their survival. Now learning how to groom that fur is one of the most important skills they must learn as well. And in the case of Tanny and Elephant, we had to teach them how to groom and practice with them. So we started by using a clean, dry towel or cloth and gently rubbing it all over their bodies, while encouraging them to gradually do the grooming type motions with their own paws more and more. We would also use our fingers to help pick out mats or knots that may have been in their fur, and we'd even use things like combs and hair dryers set up gold to help us out with their grooming as well. Now in Wally's case, since he was fully grown, he already knew how to groom his fur, but was too weak to do so by himself when he first arrived at our rescue facility.
What is that?
Wally out with his grooming using those same techniques. Gradually, he became able to groom more and more of his own body until he was strong enough to fully groom himself once again.